Welcome back to the Titanium Hangar. This is Mike. Today I want to talk to you about a new figure coming from Cang-Toys, and this is their Stegosaurus. It's their first of their combining Dinobot series, and it is their take on Snarl. He looks pretty cool, very interesting. We're going to take a look at this. We're going to transform it. We're going to see both modes and kind of the accessories and the interesting things that they do. Way different with this than any other version of this character, but I did get this at Shozy. I'm going to have a link down below where you can get yours. And, of course, let's get into taking a look at Stegosaurus. Coming up. Nice looking box. Everything is premium with Cang-Toys. And this is kind of like a sleeve. It slides up and out, which kind of surprised me. It comes completely plastic wrapped. It slides up and out. Anyway. There's the back of it. I guess I put the back of it on backwards, and it shows all the different modes and the kind of things that you can do with it. Kind of fun. Here's he is out of the box, and this is what he looks like. He looks really cool, very interesting looking figure, and I have to say that the Shuraking ones, they have kind of a darker color scheme. You can tell they were bad guys. This one has a lighter color scheme. You can tell good guy. You can also tell Dinobot colors. So really cool, slides in there, looking really good. Now, if you're watching the channel for a while, we've covered this several times on the news. We've kind of shown updates on this project as it was going, so it's pretty cool to have it in hand. And also, this thing, it does look really nice. Taking a good look at this, we do have the golds and the silvers, some translucent pieces here, here. So all through it, we've got some translucent pieces. So they take a very stylized look, a stylized take on this character, and it does look really good. I mean, it's kind of slightly has a Gundam vibe going to it, but yeah, it looks really interesting, visually interesting overall, this figure here. So with that, there's a lot of sharp points to it, like there usually are on their figures. So you got to be careful with all of these sharp points everywhere, but yeah, he looks good. He's got a lot of accessories. He's got a lot of paint apps, and they really do the tampography really well. Just tiny little writing that is so perfectly applied everywhere. And I've never really seen any paint mishaps on any of their figures at all. And then here he is with this giant wings on the back that he's got going on. So that's pretty interesting. Now, I would say that he does feel slightly kibbly because of the style and design that they go, but truthfully, he looks pretty clean, even from the back. I mean, the way it all tucks away with all of the stuff that they do and what's going on with it, it all tucks away, and it does look pretty clean of a bot overall. His accessories are quite interesting, and it is kind of cool the way it all works. Now, he has these two swords, and they're ginormous, and they're going to combine to be an even more ginormous sword for combined mode, but this is kind of how they would combine. Where is it? Right here. Like this. To make the tip of what's going to be a ginormous sword. Just huge. But they also separate. So there's this. You can separate it out. And you can have this in his hand. And then you can have a gun going on in his other hand. And that's sort of how that looks. I mean, it's big, ginormous weapons, too. So getting all this in frame is a challenge, but that's how it looks. It looks pretty cool, pretty interesting. It's nice to have options with this stuff, and it's nice that a sword is not just a sword. Now you can remove this back piece here, and you can turn it into another weapon. Also, that's a thing that you can do if you want to, but we're going to have to turn it. All right, let's get that in frame there. Flip it around here. And then you want to line up each one of these tabs and tab them in as you're going along with it. This is going to be the tail also. So I'm A-okay with starting to pre-transform this guy. But tabbing all this in, all the way down. So here it is all tabbed in to create this weapon. And then he can hold it. So let's get over here to have him hold it. Now, a couple things. I don't think his hand's going to hold it that well, so you might want to put it in this port on his arm over here, like so. and then he can hold it with that port. Yeah, there it is. Got quite interesting look to it, to say the least. Yeah, it's pretty cool. You can actually do one more thing with this. Let's go ahead and get into looking at that. All right, so separate the blade and get it in sort of this configuration right here, and then you can plug this in, and you've got, well, it looks like a little bird, but it's supposed to be a weapon accessory. And then you can fold down the handle, and then you can put that in his hand, and he can hold that. And that's kind of what that looks like. Well, it's kind of plugged into his arm. That's the best way to do it. The plug-ins to his hand don't work that well on the weapons, and I actually think this is more geared towards plugging into his arm. Anyway, now for articulation, you can have the head side to side, up and down. I think it's ball jointed pretty well. Got ratchets to the side out there on this really nice. It's a whole joint working on that shoulder, and then you've got really tight ratchet 360 on the shoulder. I'm not going to go all the way around. Bicep swivel, double joint on the elbow. Now, because of the design and the bulkiness, it doesn't go. You don't get the range that you probably would like to go a little further, but that's enough for me. Then you've got the fingers individually jointed at 2 points of articulation per finger, a slight splay to them, hand goes in and out, so that works too. And then getting down here, we do have a waist swivel and an ab crunch. So it's got all that you would need. Moving the hip flaps out of the way. Very well ratcheted. I mean, you probably get a 1 foot kicking stance. Let's go back all the way to there. And then forward as far as, probably that far as you're going to go. With that, you've got thigh swivel cut right down here, which is nice. Knee feels double jointed, limited range. I'm sure you can move this piece out of the way or something to get more if you need more. And then you're starting to feel in the legs, I'm starting to feel that diecast right here. Some good diecast. And there's not a ton of diecast in it, but there is diecast throughout it. So that is pretty nice. Then you've got some, well, the foot articulation is more or less toe movement, but you also have the ankle tilt, which isn't extreme, but you can get what you need out of it. Pretty decent. All right, for comparison, I do want to point out that he's not as massive as kind of the Cang-Toys releases. I mean, it's probably about the same size, but I just felt like those were just a little bit bigger for the Predaking ones. But for Dinobot to Dinobot, this is Reximus Prime, which is around about the same size as what we're getting with Gigapower. And so probably a little bit bigger than the Fantoys one. I don't have the Fantoys one, so I really can't speak to it. But he's a little bit bigger than what you would expect for Dinobot. Way bigger than what Takaro made. And then this, of course, is Optimus Prime over here. So you get a kind of idea for scale. And for a little bit of G1 fun, there's always time for G1 fun. I actually thought I was going to break his hips transforming him, and one of his fists that's spring-loaded doesn't want to pop out, but that's okay because it's a problem with holding the tail in alt mode. Still, it's G1 one that I actually didn't have as a kid, and I don't spend much time with this figure. I really very seldom ever do anything with it, but we'll see it again in alt mode. All right, for transformation, we are going to try to speed this up as much as we can. I already did one side. Gonna push the fist in here, flip this down and around, fold this to the inside, and sort of have a leg ready to go. We're gonna come around here to the back and open up all of this good stuff here from behind. Fold this stuff out. We're going to go to the front, and this all pulls out. These pieces come out here. I'm going to get this head separated here. Further bring this head joint out for the alt mode to make room for that. Then we're going to get the head go back into the cavity there. It's going to end up tucking down into all of this, but we have to pull all of this stuff here out first. So get a grip on that, pull that out, and then this is going to all rotate around. And then we're going to do some folding out of all of this. And that's how we're going to tuck the head down into here. like so. And then we got a lot more work to do to this thing. We are going to fold these pieces out, these fillers out, and then pulling this piece here up. And then we've got all these things going on back here, which this is interesting too, because it's going to come fold around and form this top part, and then fold this around. So we're going to start getting this stuff ready to go. This is sort of a gap filler in itself here, coming up in a bit. Torso, we're going to untab these pieces here for the torso. Come on, untab. So that's going to lift up. It's going to give us a whole lot of stuff to do with this. Now with this up, we are going to need to pull out some of these gap fillers. Got the ball rolling on this one here. This one is really tight. It's just a real tight joint, but got to bring it all out, fold this out, and then that's going to go down here and tab in. Not sure why that's so tight, but it tabs in right here into this slot. Right here. That was one tight joint right there. Using these little tab pieces here, you can pull out these other fillers and fill in that gap quite nicely. Coming around to the back, you're going to see it starting to shape up when you kind of push this into this area, and then you can get this down here into this area, and then these are going to be primed for going where they're supposed to go into here in a bit. But anyway, we were going to work on the lower section. And with these legs, we're going to disconnect this, and we are going to pull out a bunch of leg stuff that we have going on in here. It's in there nice and tight. It's not the easiest thing in the world to get out. Then you're going to flip it around and come around here, and then we have these. Now what this is a locking tab. Come on. Opens there and opens here. And so what this does is this locks the knee in place, or the knee mechanism in place, so that it is it's got some stability to it. And we're going to fold this around on this rear tab. Oh, first we got to fold up all this stuff too into here, so that we've got room to fold it over. And there it is. There's the room. Then we can relock the tabs, which I don't think it actually locks in. It's just kind of folding away. But in bot mode, it needs that stability. Then we're going to tab this into here. Come on. And everything's really tight because, well, it's going to be a huge, gigantic combiner. You don't want your combiner to not be tight. You got to tab that in right there. And then we create the leg. And I'm only going to show one side because it's really not that difficult of a process here. But anyhow, there's the kneecap. Here is the foot. And then there's that. And that. And then we tab this kneecap, the thigh cap in. So I'm going to do the other side and we're going to get back to it. Alright, so with the legs done, fold this piece down. Then we're going to fold these down and tab these into here. Everything should line up just right to get that tab in to there. And then back here we are going to connect the legs. It's an over and under, so we can kind of solidify these legs together like that. As you notice, I haven't put the tail on just yet. We are going to do a couple things when we put the tail on, but I just left the tail in kind of weapon mode to make it easier. And trust me, the transformation is way easier if you waited till now to put the tail on. But really, the finishing touches from this point is just going to be this here. And so this is something that I wasn't really sure what to do with this little black piece here. I'm not sure it's supposed to be left out all the way, but we're going to fold all this. Don't do that. Fold all this in, and then we're going to tab. It tabs into here, and then it tabs into here. One thing about this tail, which I guess I failed to mention, is that you have to fold these pieces here out. And then there's a tab, and it tabs into this slot right there, which is a little tricky, but it adds some stability to everything. And then we'll try to get that in there, and then we'll move on to trying to finish these little pieces here up, and we'll pretty much be done. All right, so here he is in his alt mode, sort of. I'm having a little trouble with this piece here. The whole thing looks pretty good. Doesn't really take away from it, but this is supposed to tab into there, and there's like this segment. I messed that up somehow. I don't know, but it still looks pretty good, and I'm just going to kind of move on from it because I don't need to spend an hour messing with that one little joint. But looks magnificent. It's got a nice shine to it, a sheen to it, and it definitely does look like dinosaur, and it looks like robotic dinosaurs, kind of what I like. But here it goes, and yeah, that's magnificent looking. I like the colors. I like how it's just got so much going on to it, and it's very interesting. It's really hard to kind of tie your eye down to one thing because there's just so much all over. And of course, the tamper graphing that's come through on this. So yeah, it looks really good. And again, I probably have something just slightly out of alignment in there, which I just couldn't figure out how I got something out of alignment. But it does look really nice overall. Now, there is some articulation to it, which it's interesting because they have a lot of articulation in both modes, but you can kind of move this in or move this out, and then of course you have all of this articulation that you had previously, and then the bicep swivel is the kind of front thigh swivel, and then all of this same stuff here. But it does kind of show you to push it sort of to the back and make it look more like an animal kind of a leg. Then you have the head up here, which has got some rotation up there, and then side to side, which this is something that was not carried forward. I've got some looseness to my neck in here, but I think that this bottom piece here attaches somehow to help it tighten up a little bit too. Getting back into the back leg here, you do have back, front, side to side, and then of course, well, there's no thigh swivel down here. And everything we got with the feet. Now the feet are all different. It's ball jointed. Is it ball jointed? Yeah, ball jointed on the feet. So you got all the different directions with that. And then in and out. If you want to tail, we have an articulation here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points of articulation in the tail. So you can get quite a bit of tail movement and poses out of that bad boy. Now I do have an issue, which I don't think it's a big issue, but this pops off, then it pops right back on. Not a big deal. You could glue it if you wanted to. I don't really think it's supposed to be removable. It's just one of those accents that they have all the way around, and that's the way they did it to get that color accent. But still, mean looking auto mode. Let's look at some of the accessories. As for the weapons, you can do a couple things if you want to. You could plug it into the top up here, or the side right there, and this little piece here, which actually was two. Earlier, I think I used only one of these. There's actually two of them. This can plug into the front right here. Tight fit. So you can armor this guy up. And if you don't like the top looking part there, which either you would say gun or another blade or something, it plugs into this side piece right there. Be careful though, because pushing it in too much could make it come untabbed. Be careful. But you have to fold the handle over to get it in to make that work. Here it is, all armored up for battle, if that's how you want to do it. It's magnificent looking, really, really interesting. And yeah, it fits in the dino world. Kind of makes me want to get a paddles too, right? All right, for comparison, we're going to start out with a green G1. Well, it's technically G2. So you can see the size and where we've come from, where we are going. I kind of like to get that in to frame and perspective so we can keep it in perspective. Let's look at Optimus Prime. This is the magic square, and that's how much bigger he is. So the weird thing is that he wasn't a whole lot bigger in bot mode, but in dino mode, he absolutely towers over this truck, which kind of feels right. He doesn't quite tower over big load. Take a load off with big load, and he's still much bigger, but it just feels like big load's huge. So, bunch of big bots coming out these days. So what I think about this guy, I think that Cang-Toys makes a very quality product. It is a nice looking bot. It is very stylized. It is not G1, but that's not what they go for. They go for something a little bit different. And with that, you've got two other companies that have made G1 Dinobots. So now you got a stylized option out there. And their Predaking is massive, huge, and people who have it, everyone loves it. I like the figures that I've got. They are quite interesting, and they do a lot of different things, especially with these customization of what you can do with these weapons. And it's interesting how you can turn that tail into a different interesting weapon, and they just think of this kind of stuff, so it's pretty cool. But I do have a link at Shozy. You can get yours if you want to get in on this guy and start building this set. I don't know how many it's going to take to build the combined mode, and I'm not exactly sure what this thing's going to look like in combined mode. But anyway, let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and